mused that it would be natural for a jealous Cliff to want to get rid of Killian's gift for Eliza. The girl looked at her husband and concluded that he had behaved unusually. It was also strange that she had been summoned to the imperial palace. At that moment, Killian indignantly asked what he was doing there and pointed to Demian Sinclair standing and talking to the Duke. As Killian and Edith came closer, the young master greeted them and smirked, saying that he hadn't seen them in a long time. The guy asked from now on to call his wife with the surname Ludwig, and joined a business conversation with his father and Demian. The next day, the newlyweds had breakfast, and Killian reported that the Earl of Sinclair wanted the rights to the iron mines in the south. Lady Edith remembered that the rights used to belong to the Count of Riegelhof, and they were the reason for the marriage of convenience. Edith realized that if the Duke's rights disappeared, then the value of having the Count's daughter in the Duke's family would evaporate. Killian said anxiously that if Demian had come to discuss the deal with his father, he must have already thought it over on his own. The young master told his wife that he would be late at work today, was about to leave, but suddenly returned to the table. He came closer to his wife, ran his hand through her hair and said that he did not have time to answer the question during the tea party. The young man said gently, almost purring, that he really liked his wife's rose perfume. The next day, Killian's wife poisoned herself with a maid and went to Delcius Street to relax in a cafe. However, Lady Edith was in for an unpleasant surprise. The servant Anna asked her why she did not love her husband. Edith almost burned with shame, said that she did not expect such a question at all, and asked Anna why she was interested. The maid replied that she understood that the young master and Lady Eliza had a specific purpose for going to the boutique. The street where the shoe store is located is popular for dates, so Anna intervened and alerted the mistress about it. Lady Edith was flattered that the maid was genuinely concerned about her and her marriage, which meant that Anne had taken her mistress's side. Anna has remained a loyal and responsible servant of the duchy under any circumstances, but now she worries about Edith. Lady Edith thanked the maid for her care and said that she and Killian were indeed doing well. She smiled and honestly admitted that she wanted days like today to continue. Edith remembered how in the morning she had sold a dress that she had never worn, because she believed that it could harm the reputation of the duchy. The saleswoman said that she did not understand what the mistress was talking about, because there was nothing wrong with wearing an open dress. For a second, the girl with the ruby hair thought that the saleswoman was right, and she would look great in this dress. The saleswoman said that she could not offer a high price, since not many women would like a dress. Lady Edith also sold all the jewelry and a set of diamond earrings and necklaces that she had before marriage. There was still not enough money to escape from the duchy at any time when the situation began to deteriorate. Edith picked at the strawberry pie with her fork and realized that she could not fully rely on Killian, no matter how kind and affectionate he was to her. The girl remembered how, lying in a hospital bed, she heard the screams of her brother, who refused to help and wished a speedy death to her dying sister. She heard her father talking on the phone, who complained that the girl had fallen ill inopportunely because they already had no money. The mother persuaded her son under the pretext that she would buy something valuable. Then the girl realized that she needed to rely only on herself and her own strength. The girl lay in tears and understood that if she was helped, she would remain in debt. If she fell ill, everyone would say that she attracted attention. Anna sat at the table and thought about her fate. For more than 10 years she has been serving the Ludwig family. During this time, the maid learned the most important quality that is necessary at work in a noble family. To be an exemplary servant, you need to learn to work without ears, so as not to hear the conversations of the owners. You also need to be able to perform your duties without eyes, so as not to see what is happening with the owners. Work quietly like a mouse, not even cast a shadow so that the owners do not notice your presence. Anna remembered that servants should not have a head to think and a heart to feel, to be like the limbs of the masters. One day, Duke Ludwig summoned the maid and told her that from that moment on she became the governess of Edith Riegelhof. The Duke ordered to keep an eye on the mistress and report if he noticed anything strange or if she was angry towards the servant. Anna had heard the rumors and knew that the mistress, whom she was obliged to serve, was involved in various unpleasant situations. It is also revealed that Lady Edith is in a marriage of convenience, but Anne is not one of those servants who feels sympathy for her masters. So when the other maids gossiped about the bad Lady Edith from whom poor Lady Eliza suffered, Anna did not interfere. The maid remembers the day when the blonde sweet girl first appeared within the walls of the duchy. Anna remembered that she had no feelings for the girl who appeared in rags with a radiant smile. The maid had been working since she was 12, and she knew what bad luck was, perhaps partly because she did not sympathize with Eliza. She didn't think Lady Eliza was unlucky and served her like any other mistress, but it wasn't the new mistress that impressed Anna. The maid remembered that Lady Edith turned out to be someone else, and on the first day of their acquaintance she said that she would dine with Anne. The mistress did not draw lines between herself and the servants, asked for Anna's opinion, and listened to her answers. Lady Edith treated Anna as an equal, considered her friend, and offered her dinner with her. Anna had never had any feelings for the hosts, but now, sitting in the cafe, she wanted to make the lady happy with everything. Lady Edith smiled kindly and said that that was enough for her, and the lady and the maid continued to chat like friends. Chatting merrily, Lady Edith returned with Anna to the castle, and suddenly Killian called her to him. The young master asked his wife what was going on, for it was rumored that she had sold all her outfits and jewelry. The girl with ruby hair said that this was nonsense. She did not sell all the things, she just dealt with unnecessary things. The guy explained to his wife that people, when they find out that the noblewoman suddenly sold her things, will spread a lot of rumors. The young master shouted that in the long run, his wife's act would have a negative impact on the reputation of the duchy. The girl concluded that the actions of the noblewoman, and now also the daughter-in-law of the duke, would inevitably be noticed in high society. Lady Edith apologized and said that she had no personal funds of her own, except for those she had brought after the wedding as a dowry. Hearing this, the young master became even angrier and asked what his wife was doing that she didn't have enough money coming in monthly. The girl with ruby hair was very surprised, looked at her husband uncomprehendingly, and timidly asked what kind of money she was talking about. Killian furiously asked his wife why she did not say that she received money for personal expenses. Edith replied that she had no idea about these finances, and reminded her that it was time for her husband to go to the boutique and for her to prepare for a trip to the palace. Then Killian grabbed Lady Edith's hand and dragged her to get ready, but stopped abruptly and asked her why she had not said anything. The guy said that Edith had always done this to him and mentioned cases of bruises, starvation, and suffering from poisoning. The young master asked his wife if she really thought that her husband was not able to protect her. Killian gently touched his wife's cheek, and Sophia's words that Edith would remain abandoned by everyone abruptly resurfaced in her memory. Sophia laughed maliciously and shouted that Killian Ludwig would gladly kick Edith out when he found out about her criminal connections. The girl hugged the hand of the faithful and said that there were things that she could not tell him openly. She added that she still cannot rely on her husband's words, and he will have to come to terms with it. The young master promised to buy back all the dresses and accessories sold. Edith protested and mumbled that these were unnecessary things. The boy said that if Lady Edith had brought them with her to the castle, they mattered to her, and asked why she was so against it. The girl replied that she felt sorry for her husband's money, so Killian slapped his forehead with his hand and promised to report everything to Renan Filch. The husband said that Renan would immediately take care of the documents for the payment of money for expenses, and his wife would be able to check them when she returned from the palace. As she sat in the carriage on her way to the imperial palace, Lady Edith was thinking about her conversation with her husband. Lady Edith decided to forget about this situation because in the end she would still be in the black and she would be paid money. The girl with the ruby hair realized that now it was more important to understand the intentions of the cliff sitting next to her. The boy broke the silence and told Lady Edith that if she continued to look so suspiciously, he would get nervous. The girl apologized, and the young master continued to say that they spent too little time together. Cliff noted that in recent days, Edith has improved her relationship with her husband, but the girl clarified that it is too early to rejoice. Lady Edith said that the affectionate and warm relationship lasted only a couple of days, and it is impossible to predict what will happen in the future. In fact, the girl with the ruby hair was very embarrassed to have a dialogue with Cliff and forced herself to smile. The guy said it didn't make sense to compare the newlyweds' relationship to Killian's time with Lady Eliza. Lady Edith thought that the young master wanted to quarrel, and he added that he hoped that Killian's attention would be turned to his wife. The golden-pupiled guy said with a smirk that they wanted the same thing, but Lady Edith asked what it was all about. The young master asked not to pretend because the common problem is simple. Cliff needs Eliza, and Edith needs Killian. The guy explained that the best outcome would be to only occasionally check that they are not even revised. Suddenly Edith protested and explained that there had been a misunderstanding because she had no desire to tie anyone to her. The guy clarified that it was not someone, but his own husband, and said that the speech of the girl with ruby hair sounds, but not convincing. The young master asked if she would be able to make such a speech when Killian was rude and cruel to her. Lady Edith did not understand what Cliff was talking about, and instead of answering, he told the girl a story about her husband. The guy said that as a child, Killian loved to spend his summer holidays swimming in the lake on a yacht. As soon as it got warmer, he went to the lake. Even Mother, seeing the yacht park, said that, apparently, summer had already come. Since Lady Eliza arrived, she had often sailed with Killian, but after his wedding, she had never boarded his yacht. Cliff mentioned his brother's passion for art and concluded that whatever it was, if Edith needed to praise him a lot. The young master assured that the effect would be strong, as Killian had a complex about always being behind his brother. Cliff laughed and noted that the girl with the ruby hair had a funny reaction to what was said. Lady Edith recalled that the novel also stated that Killian and Cliff had a bad relationship. The girl could not understand how brothers, even taking into account the struggle for the heart of the main character, could not have warm feelings. When the carriage stopped at the Imperial Palace, Cliff advised Edith to use what he had told her. The young master opened the door of the carriage and invited Lady Edith to reflect on this conversation, for no one had anything to lose. Cliff helped Edith out of the carriage and asked her if she knew a maid named Sabine. The girl looked at the boy in bewilderment. He clarified that the maid was a thin brunette with freckles, and added that since Edith did not know her, there was nothing she could do. And it was a pity. Cliff said goodbye to Edith and went to his father and Renan, who had arrived at the Imperial Palace in another carriage. As he left, the young master said that it was a pleasure to talk and wished him a pleasant time with the princess. Edith did not understand what was being said and called out to Cliff, but there was no answer, at which moment a maid turned to the mistress. She told the girl with the ruby hair that she would take her to her highness, only she had to change her clothes first. A few hours later, in the stables, Princess Catherine was stroking her horse and froze in surprise when she finally noticed Edith. The girl with ruby hair introduced herself and asked what was happening, because immediately upon arrival she was asked to change clothes. The princess replied that she had heard that Edith could not ride, but now she noticed that she felt comfortable. The girl was embarrassed because she forgot to pretend that she felt awkward in the pants that she often wore in her past life. Lady Edith joked that the body was comfortable, but the soul was not. Catherine smiled and told him to follow her, because she would personally teach. Sitting on horseback, Edith followed the princess's instructions, looked straight up, straightened her shoulders, and kept her back straight. Princess Catherine furiously said that the skill of a horse depends on its rider, and fear is the road to an accident. The girl with the ruby hair thought that Her Highness was simply taking revenge on Edith for her audacity in their first meeting. But looking at the expression on Catherine's face, Edith guessed that Her Highness was teaching the girl because of Killian's request. The girl with the ruby hair assumed that this was Killian's request. Hearing the confirmation of the guess, Edith was extremely surprised. Catherine said that she was also surprised to hear Killian's request and thought that it was a joke, but the guy would not joke about such a thing. The princess remembered how one day she shouted at Killian when he asked to leave the duke and brother and talk in private. The young master asked Princess Catherine to teach his wife horseback riding. Killian explained that the estate he was going to was not as civilized as the prosperous capital. The guy said that if Edith only traveled in carriages, then as soon as it snowed, she would not be able to move around the property. The young master clarified that he wanted to teach the girl on his own, but he was afraid that she would feel uncomfortable. The guy remembered how he tried to offer his wife to get rid of fat and go in for equestrian sports. Killian asked Princess Catherine for help, as he had no one else to turn to, but the princess was terribly displeased. She said she had always thought that Killian's marriage was arranged and happened because of a sudden political deal. The princess had previously assumed that the young master would be patient for a while and get rid of his wife after the situation stabilized. The girl said that she was at a complete loss because the guy cared so much about his faithful. When Killian heard about getting rid of his wife, he was incredibly furious and tried to find out from the princess who told her this. The guy said that he was disappointed in Catherine because she believed the empty rumors that roam among high society. The princess was very angry at the last words, and she strained through clenched teeth that he and his wife had annoyed her because they were talking about the same thing. Catherine reminded the guy that his wife had been part of the Riegelhoff family a month ago. Their despicable actions could not be attributed to rumors. The princess angrily asked if Killian could claim that Lady Edith had nothing to do with Riegelhoff. The young master replied that it was hard to believe, but that Edith was very different from the Riegelhoff family. Killian said that he could not yet clearly explain the details, so he did not dare to ask Catherine to believe his words. The young master then asked the princess to meet Edith first, and then decide what to do with her. Catherine recounted this conversation to the girl with ruby hair, which surprised her, and concluded that the couple was right. Catherine stretched relaxed and said that she had put the girl on the horse and was a tough and strict teacher. The princess noticed that Lady Edith continued to treat her respectfully and politely, so Catherine concluded that high society was ridiculous. It turned a modest, well-mannered girl into a snake or a villain, and the princess trusted him without understanding the situation personally. Catherine admitted that she believed that Edith was causing Killian to find himself in difficult situations, and considered her to be responsible for Eliza's problems. Her Highness realized that they had been hurt by the words of a man who respected her, and asked Edith if she would accept their apology. Hearing such sincere words from the princess, the girl with ruby hair burst into tears, and Catherine said that Killian was right. Her Highness smiled at Lady Edith's tears, for the young master had warned her of being overly sensitive. At this time, Lady Eliza and Killian were walking down the street where there was a boutique with a pair of shoes that had been brought. Eliza discovered that the shoe store was closed, and Killian began to reproach how she could have made a mistake with the opening hours of the store. The guy remembered that he had left in accordance with the opening hours of the boutique, although he had been delayed in Renan's office because of his documents. The young master told Lady Eliza that the opening hours of the shoe store had to be told in advance. The guy sternly asked the blonde girl if she wanted to buy something specific here. Lady Eliza replied in the negative and suggested that we go to another shoe store that had similar shoes. In this store, Killian carefully took out of the box powder-colored shoes with a decor of white ribbon and a bow on the toe. The young master affectionately invited the blonde beauty to sit down and try on new shoes. The guy gently put the shoes on Lady Eliza's feet and helped to fasten the golden clasp on them. Then the young man admired the girl in new shoes and remembered his childhood years when he first realized that he loved her. Killian remembered the warm summer day when the blonde girl caught her shiny hair on a tree branch. In that moment, he realized that Eliza was the most radiant, sweet, warm person he had ever known in his life. The boy looked at the girl, and it seemed to him that if her smile and look were addressed only to him, then there was nothing more to desire. The boy experienced such warm and bright feelings for the first time, so he thought that this was love. Killian suddenly realized that perhaps he would have thought all his life that childhood affection was love. One day the young master heard a valuable phrase from his wife that there is such a thing as a time when changes and wounds heal. The catch is that it was the wife who settled in her husband's head and filled all his thoughts. Killian got up from his knee and smiled contentedly and told the salesman that the rumors were true and that he really had talent. The guy asked how long it would take to make 4 pairs of winter shoes. The seller replied that at least 2 months. The young master clarified that it was necessary to measure the size of his shoes and the size of his wife, and concluded that 2 months was a long time. Lady Eliza was worried when she heard the boy and asked if he and Lady Edith were in any hurry if 2 months was too long. Killian replied that soon he would be granted the title and he would go to his domain. The blonde beauty asked if Edith was going, but the young man did not know what to answer her because he did not understand why she was asking. After a few seconds of silence, the blonde girl said that it was just unexpected, because Edith was her friend. Killian wondered how he hadn't guessed it himself, since Eliza had almost no friends who were the same age. As he looked at the blonde beauty, he remembered that as a child, because of Count Sinclair, she had hardly seen people. After she began to live in the duchy, she was under the supervision of the locals, and she had no chance to meet her peers. Killian and Eliza left the store, walked down the street, and the guy realized that the sensations were different from those during the walk with Edith. The young master wondered why he had fond memories of the street where cheap candy and wildflowers were sold. Killian remembered the happy face of his wife, who seemed not shy about spending time with the commoners. Thoughts about the walk with his wife were interrupted by Lady Eliza's squeeze of her hand. Killian stopped and asked what was the matter. The blonde girl shared with him feelings of worry and anxiety about what the guy said in a boutique about the trip. The young master looked at the girl and was surprised that she was so worried about his departure. The awkward pause was interrupted by Lady Eliza's suggestion that they should walk further down the street and visit the open shops. Killian did not mind, so the blonde beauty went to a store that sold brooches and beautiful hairpins. She decorated her shiny hair with a hairpin decorated with a bow and flowers, then turned to the guy and asked for his opinion. Killian smiled restrainedly, examined the beautiful Eliza, and said that he liked the hairpin because it suits the girl very well. The guy asked the seller to bill all the accessories that the blonde girl tried on and send to the duchy. Lady Eliza gasped in fright, but the young master assured her that everything was fine, because they didn't get out often anyway. The blonde beauty was a little shocked that the guy offered to visit another store on this street. When Lady Eliza entered the boutique that the guy wanted to visit, she said that there was some kind of unusual atmosphere for her. Killian confirmed this and said that in this store he wanted to choose a gift for Lady Edith. For some reason, the guy's mention of his wife's name upset the blonde beauty, but she preferred not to demonstrate her feelings. Lady Eliza glanced around several stalls and assumed that Lady Edith liked more luxurious things. The young master happily replied that he had thought so before, but it turned out that his wife's taste had changed lately. Killian looked at the jewelry and said that he noticed that now the faithful likes elegant and sensual design. The young master concluded that his wife no longer liked pretentious jewelry with large precious stones. Killian remembered the image of Edith and noticed that she always wore a pendant with a small ruby on it, which was cute. Lady Eliza watched as the guy walked in circles around the store, looking at each product, thinking about how it would look on his wife. He rejected half of the dress and accessories because they seemed to him too pretentious and unsuitable for his beloved. In the evening, Cliff was walking down the corridor when he heard a woman's cry of admiration coming from Lady Edith's chambers. The door to his daughter-in-law's room was ajar, so the young master was able to peep and eavesdrop on what was happening. Edith admired the beauty of the things that Killian picked up and bought for her. He said that he could exchange them if he did not like them. The girl protested and said that she liked everything extraordinarily. Then the young master asked his wife to turn her back. Killian decorated his wife's braid with a ribbon with flowers and pearls. When Lady Edith asked what she looked like, he was confused. The young master was a little shocked, but he regained control of his emotions and said that this jewelry suits his wife very well. The girl thanked her husband for the unexpected gifts, and he replied that he would buy more if he knew that she would like it. Cliff felt embarrassed that he was eavesdropping on the couple's sweet conversation, so he walked further down the hallway, smiling. On the way to Lady Eliza's chambers, the guy recalled hearing that his brother had returned earlier because he was not feeling well. Cliff walked into the blonde beauty's room, saw a lot of boxes, and assumed that her brother had made her happy today. However, Lady Eliza was greatly saddened and whimpered piteously in a thin voice that Killian was incredibly loyal. Lady Eliza, almost crying, stated that she thought she had had enough of the young master, so Cliff wanted to calm her down. The guy came closer to the bed and, as if by accident, pushed several boxes of gifts from Killian. A young man with golden pupils told Eliza that there was no need to worry about her brother. She looked inquiringly. The blonde girl replied that she was always worried about Killian and him. Such was the nature. The guy said that he was not talking about that. Cliff asked Eliza if he could be the only person she could trust and lean on. The young master said that Lady Eliza looked very upset about Killian right now, but she denied it. Eliza explained that she was just tired because she had been shopping longer than she expected, then asked what Cliff was doing today. The guy was flattered by the interest in his affairs. The blonde girl added that even during the walk she thought about him. Lady Eliza said timidly that it would be better to go shopping with Cliff. He was pleased to hear it. The young master said that today in the carriage he discussed with his daughter-in-law that Killian did not ride on his yacht this summer. Lady Eliza asked the guy why he brought up this topic, and Cliff suddenly clung to the blonde beauty. He said that he existed only for the sake of Lady Eliza and was ready to give her anything she wanted. The young master held Lady Eliza's hand, and she asked her to look only at her, and Cliff replied that it could be dangerous. A couple of days later, the couple had breakfast together. Edith, breaking off a piece of strawberry pie with a fork, turned to Killian. She recalled that her husband had not yet been to the lake, although the weather this summer is ideal for a boat trip. Killian was amazed at the words of the faithful and asked if she really liked to ride a boat. The girl thought that the reason was that after a few days of reasoning, she decided to talk about the yacht. The girl with ruby hair remembered that in her previous life she had never even ridden an ordinary boat, let alone a yacht. In the carriage, Cliff told Edith that her brother had never boarded the yacht since his wedding, although it was very warm. These words made the girl think and start worrying, so she decided that she needed to talk about it with her husband. Killian was glad that his wife raised this topic, began to explain that small boats are dangerous and can easily capsize. The guy clarified that there is no need to worry about this, because he has a yacht on which he and Lady Edith will be happy to ride. The girl with the ruby hair was smiling contentedly, but suddenly wondered what would have happened if she hadn't started this conversation. Killian said that he hoped the weather would be great tomorrow, then called Anna and ordered her to inform Samuel to put the yacht in order. The next day, Eliza and Edith met in the courtyard of the estate. The blonde girl praised her daughter-in-law's appearance. Then she asked the interlocutor where she was going. The girl with ruby hair replied that Killian invited her to the yacht. Lady Eliza exclaimed enthusiastically and explained that the young master used to sail with her every year. The blonde girl clarified that every time Killian rode with her, he fished, and asked if he would fish this time. Edith replied that she had not heard anything about it, and Eliza said that fishing was fun. It would be a pity if this time it did not happen. Suddenly, Lady Edith realized that Lady Eliza was interested in a second male character. The blonde beauty continued to admire the couple and how perfect they were for each other. The dialogue was interrupted by the young master, who approached his wife and said that everything was already ready and it was time to go. The blonde girl said that she was already leaving because she had gone for a walk, but by chance she met Edith, and they began to talk. Eliza wished the couple a good rest and left. Killian again turned to his wife and called her on the road. Lady Edith thought for a second and realized how much the circumstances and relationships of the characters had changed. After a while, the girl with ruby hair admired the clarity of the water in the lake and the boats passing by. Killian explained that there are a lot of boats around now because everyone comes early in the afternoon when it's not so hot. Lady Edith ran up and down the deck like an admiring child, wondering at everything she saw, but Killian begged her to stop. When the girl felt the warmth from her husband's jacket, she realized that his attitude, look, and manner of communication had also changed. The girl was imbued with the atmosphere of the walk, and stretched her lips in anticipation of a kiss. It seemed to her that the wind itself was bringing the spouses together. However, the young master did not understand what needed to be done at the moment, and asked his wife what was the matter. Lady Edith asked him not to spoil the moment and guess, because she was standing in his arms with her eyes closed. Finally, Killian understood what to do and kissed his wife on the lips. It was one of the ideal days of married life. A girl with ruby hair kissed her faithful and could not even imagine what would happen. In preparation for the yacht trip, everything went well. Lady Edith asked her husband what was better to wear for the cruise. The girl with ruby hair was thinking about the need for a parasol, but Killian assured her that the hat would serve better. The wife was carried away by thoughts of the upcoming boat trip on the lake and offered to take food on the yacht, but the husband only smiled. To make the yacht ride perfect, Killian also carefully prepared, he asked the yacht keeper to check it in advance. Samuel calmed the young master and said that she was in good condition and working properly, and that she was already asking to go into the water herself. When Edith approached the shore of the lake, she admired the beauty of nature, the grandeur of the yacht, and the large number of boats and vessels in the water. Killian held onto the cable and watched his wife admire the surrounding landscapes and marvel at the blue water. The young master's consort thought that she was happy, and it would be glorious if things continued on the same way. However, according to the law of meanness, as soon as such thoughts appeared in my head, everything necessarily went wrong. After a romantic kiss, Lady Edith said that the atmosphere of the boat trip was perfectly conducive to this. The guy remembered that he did not dare to offer his wife a yacht trip because he thought that Edith had already ridden with other men. But during a recent conversation, the wife said that she had never been on such a walk. Killian was surprised by the answer because walks are popular with couples when you can stay alone in a limited space. The young master broke the kiss and touched her lips with his thumb and promised to continue at home. The girl was delighted with her husband's words and offered to start eating, which was prepared for a walk by order. The guy agreed and said that he needed to stop the yacht then, but a sharp gust of wind did not allow him to drift. The sail was not subject to Killian's control. Because of this, the yacht jerked violently. Then the chairs, table, dishes, food flew into the air. At that moment, Killian turned around and did not see his wife on board, but he heard a loud splash of water. The husband rushed to the edge of the yacht. A young man ran up to see Lady Edith sinking deeper and deeper into the water overboard, apparently her wet dress pulling her down. Once in the water, the girl with ruby hair felt how piercingly cold the water was, like ice. Lady Edith persuaded herself to come to her senses and start thinking about how to survive, because according to the plot of the novel, she should die at the hands of her husband. The girl understood that in the original story, there was no episode with Edith's character falling into the water. Suddenly, 2 signs with system notifications appeared in front of the girl's eyes. One said that there were 3 minutes until death. On another, Lady Edith read that if her character dies in the state of a villain, then the story returns to the original course. The girl with ruby hair realized that then her relationship with her husband would also return to its original state. Lady Edith awoke in her bed, hearing Anne's voice praying for her recovery, and asked for water. The maidservant, hearing the lady's wheezing voice, hurried out of the chamber and fetched a cup of water. After a moment, the girl bent over the cup she had brought and wondered how she could come to terms with the author's hostility. From the very beginning, he thwarted attempts to deviate from the original plot by setting impossible conditions. Edith pondered and concluded that the thread of the original plot was originally a greater obstacle than the unknown author. It was the framework of the original plot that limited the characters, their actions, feelings for Edith, and even the girl herself. The girl with ruby hair remembered that when she was unconscious, her soul fell into darkness with green signs. It was reported that the author's control was weakened due to the author's excessive interference with the original plot. The brunette was pleased with this, because of this it followed that the original plot and the unknown author are not on the same side. The girl with ruby hair concluded that the anonymous author also falls under the restrictions of the system. Lady Edith then asked the maid about the whereabouts of the young master, but she was confused and could not answer. After thinking for a few seconds, Anna said that Mr. Killian was now interrogating Samuel, which shocked the mistress. Lady Edith remembered that Mr. Samuel was driving the transport in the duchy and was the one who prepared the yacht for the trip. Edith was embarrassed because on the one hand the incident was an accident, but on the other hand, as if someone wanted her dead. After all, whoever set it up knew perfectly well the limitation from the system that if Edith died a villain, then the original plot would return. Anna, in tears, tried to prove to the mistress that Mr. Samuel was not a bad person and could not have done such a thing. However, Edith knew for sure that this happened not through the fault of the character, but because of the author's intrigues, in which case people undeservedly suffered. The mistress broke her silence and suddenly ordered the maid to inform Killian that his wife had woken up and was looking for him. While in the basement where Mr. Killian was interrogating Samuel, he remembered the moment the faithful fell into the water. He remembered how his heart had clenched unbearably at the moment of Edith's fall behind the railing, and his wife had sunk deeper and deeper into the water before Killian's eyes. The guy could not even remember the moment when he jumped into the water abyss to save his wife. When the young master pulled Lady Edith out of the water, he tried to shout to her, but her eyelids remained motionless. Killian begged his wife to open his eyes because he had not yet said everything he wanted, and remembered the day when he bought many different things. Then Lady Edith said that she was happy that Killian had chosen clothes and accessories for her, which meant that he was thinking about his wife outside the home. At the words of the faithful, the young master was embarrassed and suggested that next time she go shopping together. Killian said he warned the shoe seller that the couple would order boots and shoes in advance because they were leaving. Killian said nothing, but he wanted to say that he was thinking about his wife all the time, looking at anything and wondering if Edith would like her. But before that, the guy behaved ugly towards his wife. He remembered how once the spouses were walking along the corridor and swearing. Then the young master shouted that he could not trust his wife. She replied that it was not surprising, because it had always been so. The guy reproached his wife many times for the dark deeds of Regelhof. Even earlier he clarified with his wife whether she was definitely a person, and not a snake. The young master stopped thinking and returned to the interrogation, reminding Samuel that he had served in the duchy for 10 years. Killian suggested aloud that Samuel valued Duke Ludwig's opinion of his work because he had not made a single mistake. Then the guy began to shout angrily at the interrogated and asked who was behind him and whose request he had fulfilled. There was a knock on the interrogation room. Killian turned around to see a frightened Anna, who said that the mistress had woken up. Hearing this, the young master hurried to his beloved wife's chambers. She hadn't expected him to come quickly. Killian took his wife in a strong and long embrace. Lady Edith was incredibly pleased to feel the warmth of her faithful. When Killian finally pulled away from Lady Edith, she asked why her husband was so pale. The guy replied that there was nothing surprising because his beloved almost died, and Edith asked to explain what happened to the yacht. Killian said that the yacht had problems with the sailing equipment, the rope was tied in a knot, and the vessel lost its balance. The young master added that if the yacht had been properly equipped, the accident would never have happened. Killian sat down next to his wife and said that he was already interrogating Samuel and would inform her as soon as something became known. But the girl protested and said that Samuel could not do this because he knew that he would immediately become the first suspect. Suddenly, Lady Edith realized that someone was trying to remove her with scenes that were not in the original story. The girl with ruby hair realized that this accident was the work of an unknown author. His interference was called excessive by the system and limited his rights. Then the question arises how he tried to destroy Edith. The girl remembered that the less important the character, the less he depends on the plot, for example, like Renan or Anna. Lady Edith reasoned that she interacted with these secondary characters often, and the author could have removed her long ago. From this, the girl with ruby hair concluded that the unknown author could not influence Anna and Renan. Instead, he chose a more troublesome and dubious way of creating episodes, as if he himself was bound by the possibilities of the novel. In this case, the character worthy of killing Edith was someone who had hated her for a long time, such as the servant Sophia. Or an influential character who considers Lady Edith a villain and opposes her, Cliff Ludwig would be suitable for such a role. Mr. Samuel, who is not even mentioned in the original story, does not fit any type of perpetrator. Lady Edith regretfully concluded that she could not explain her line of thought to Killian. It was to be hoped that her husband would simply believe it when Lady Edith said that she thought Samuel had been framed. After a while, Killian went down to the interrogation room and ordered the guard to let Samuel go. The man asked if the young master would fire him now, but he replied in the negative. Samuel couldn't believe it. Killian explained that there was no evidence, there would be no serious punishments, and added that the man could take a day off today. The suspect thanked Killian, but he said that he needed to thank the mistress, because she convinced him of the man's innocence. As Samuel was untied by the guard, the young master said that he hoped the man would live up to the trust placed in him. Killian remembered a conversation with his wife when he argued that Samuel was responsible for the yacht and could not go unpunished. The girl asked if her husband was really able to punish an innocent person. The guy thought about it and was surprised at his wife's calmness. Lady Edith laughed and explained that she was really comparing Samuel to herself, for she had once been unjustly accused. The girl with ruby hair reminded her husband how she was interrogated in the Duke's office and appointed a probationary period. Edith admitted that she had been informed of the injustice done to Samuel and that he had been in the interrogation room for several hours. The young master promised his wife that he would certainly do as she wished and headed for the exit from the chambers. As Kiliana closed the door behind him, he thought that he could not leave the picture of Edith's lifeless face that he had taken out of the water. In his office, Killian banged his fist on the table in anger and decided that his first task would be to catch the culprit. The young master concluded that he should moderate his anger and treat this case as a crime against his wife, not himself. At first, Killian thought that the Riegelhoff family had taken revenge on the Ludwig family for sending their maid back to the county. Then the guy suggested that the Sinclair family, which has been under suspicion of incidents more than once, was involved in this. The young master caught himself thinking that he was missing something important in this investigation. Suddenly, a servant knocked on the office. He informed the young master that Mr. Samuel had arrived. The guy had ordered the man to be let in. Killian invited Samuel to sit down, but Samuel refused because he was afraid of getting his chairs dirty and said he had something to say. Mr. Samuel clarified that he had nothing to do with the incident because he personally checked the condition of the yacht, and it was in good working order. Killian listened carefully to the man's words as he said that there was an interesting circumstance. Mr. Samuel said that at dawn he parked the yacht near the shore of the lake, and young Master Cliff approached him. He called the man over to him and said that he was looking for something belonging to Lady Eliza, so he distracted himself to help. Samuel added that the request did not take long, however. If something happened to the yacht at that moment, it was his fault. Killian was surprised and asked why the man himself was talking about this, since he had already been released and was not suspected. Samuel replied that he, too, wanted to catch a criminal who wanted to harm the mistress and get away with it. The man furiously replied that he could not remain silent because the mistress was so kind and merciful when Samuel was interrogated. The young master was surprised that Edith's trust and forgiveness allowed him to obtain information that was unknown after the interrogation. He was also shocked that Samuel was willing to cooperate to help the mistress instead of remaining silent. The man bowed his head, saying that he was ready to be punished for his inattention, but Killian ordered him to raise his head. The young master pointed out that Lady Edith had never wanted to punish anyone, and it was unlikely that her mind had changed. The guy remembered the face of the faithful when she talked about Samuel and assured the man that she would thank him for his honesty. Killian told the man that what he had experienced today was enough punishment and advised him to go to rest. Left alone in the office, Kiliana speculated about his brother, who came to the lake early in the morning in search of Lady Eliza's belongings. The young master remembered that before the yacht trip, he and his wife had met Lady Eliza. Probably she was waiting for Cliff. Killian came to believe that during the poison thread incident and during the data leak incident, Eliza and Cliff were nearby. The guy felt anxious and remembered how he had promised his wife to fairly investigate the theft of documents. Then Eliza was included in the investigation, but still, despite all the evidence in favor of Edith, they did not believe her words. The Duke and his sons then believed Eliza's words, and again she and Cliff did not become participants in the investigation. The young man concluded that, because of this, he could not be sure of the innocence of these two. Suddenly, the idea came to his mind to find out about all the people who had been at the lake at dawn. The story of Cliff and his lover's involvement in the crimes was so confused that Killian fell into despair. One thing he knew for sure was that Cliff and the blonde girl needed to be tested somehow.
Like this video. Hit the like button and subscribe for more videos.